The next day, the Gunja building, where Byung-soo had died, was surrounded and barricaded by the vampire task force. Officers in tactical gear moved around the scene, securing entrances and checking for clues. One officer muttered, "What's the point of forming this task force? Wherever we go, the corpses of vampires just vanish into thin air." Another officer sighed. "Maybe we should call an exorcist or something." A male officer gave her a sharp look. "This isn't the time for jokes. Let's just wrap this up quickly so we can finally take a break." The male officer beside her flexed his wrist, casually showing off his expensive watch. Turning to her, he asked, "So, have you found anything suspicious so far?" She replied, "There are no CCTV cameras in this building, but 2 students were caught on nearby front-facing security cameras from residential houses around the time of the incident." He scolded her harshly. "That's all you've got? How can you be so lazy?" She looked down, slightly hurt. "Sorry, sir," she murmured. Inside, she was thinking, "Ever since I joined this task force, he's always been like this, barking orders at juniors and then taking all the credit when the work's done." He interrupted her thoughts again. "Any blood traces? Fingerprints?" She shook her head. "No, sir." Before he could ask anything else, a presence loomed behind them. Captain Huang had arrived, like a shadow. His sudden appearance startled both of them. "Good morning, everyone," Huang said calmly. Then he turned to the female officer. "Could you repeat what you've discovered so far?" Before she could respond, her superior stepped in, annoyed. "Who sent you here? You've got your own team. Do your job with them. Don't stick your nose in our case." He tapped Huang's shoulder aggressively. But as he raised his hand, Huang noticed the man's expensive watch. Grabbing his wrist, Huang said quietly, "A person like you normally wouldn't splurge on such a costly watch, especially one that barely fits you." The officer mumbled, "I bought it myself." "Mind your own business." Huang brought the man's wrist closer to his nose and sniffed. "Cologne. And if I recall correctly, you don't do drugs, right? Yet, this watch is showing Russian local time, not Korean." Huang's eyes sharpened. "I wonder, that tall, heavy-set drug trafficker from Russia, the one who was released not long ago, I assume he made it home safely. Did he happen to gift you this?" The officer yanked his hand back. "Let go of me!" Huang released his grip, flicking his hand away. "Taking expensive watches as bribes. Bit old-fashioned, don't you think?" The officer stood speechless. Then Huang smiled casually. "Hey, don't worry about it. No need to get so flustered. I was just speculating, that's all." He stepped closer. "And since we're all on the same side, let's try to be polite to each other. Also, treat your subordinates with some respect, all right?" With that, he walked off, leaving an awkward silence in his wake. The female officer whispered to herself, "Captain Huang is awesome. He really knows how to deal with bullies like him." She remembered, Captain Huang graduated early from the police academy. He has an incredible memory. He never forgets anything he's seen, even once. Since the vampire task force was formed, his arrest rate has been over 80%. He became famous for his unorthodox but effective arrest tactics, and he was awarded a national medal of the highest order at a young age. His achievements are endless. As Huang exited the site, some of the higher-ups started asking questions about the corrupt officer's watch and his connection to the Russian drug dealer. Meanwhile, back at the crime scene, one of Huang's subordinates approached him. "Captain," he said, "it looks like the dead guy was thrown from the building. From the signs, it might have been a fight between 2 vampires." Huang raised an eyebrow. A fight between vampires, he thought. Then there must be some kind of trace. He crouched down, eyes scanning the site carefully, every detail under scrutiny. A crowd of angry students gathered outside the school building, protesting against the management. Banners and handwritten slogans filled the air. "Vampires among us! 2 attacks, still no action! We want safety, not silence!" Tension crackled in the atmosphere. From afar, Haiyan and her friends watched the scene unfold. "They're right," one friend said. "The school should have reacted already. 2 vampire attacks and still nothing." "Yeah," another added, shaking her head. Haiyan, silent for a moment, glanced around nervously and whispered to herself, "I have to be more careful from now on." "By the way," one of her friends asked, "where were you last night during the assembly?" Haiyan smiled awkwardly. "I had an upset stomach. I went home early. Sorry for not telling you guys." Suddenly, a calm yet authoritative voice called out, "Are you Haiyan Park?" They turned. Standing just a few feet away was Captain Huang. Dressed smartly and exuding charisma, he looked like he had stepped off the set of a K-drama. Haiyan's friends froze, wide-eyed. "Is he your boyfriend?" one whispered into her ear. "He has to be a billionaire," another murmured. Haiyan stared at him too, confused. "Wait, he's the guy who saved me and my orphan siblings from those thugs before." Sensing the awkward silence, Huang gave a charming smile and said in a theatrically confident tone, "I was top of my class at school and graduated valedictorian from the police academy. After flying up the ranks, I became captain of the Criminal Investigations Division at just 28. I've received national awards and currently lead the Vampire Task Force. I'm known on social media as one of the most popular people in this city, frequently invited to TV shows. I'm a super talented yet trendy pillar of the local community." Haiyan blinked, then smirked. "So, you're a detective?" Huang smiled. "You're quite smart." As they began walking together, heads turned across the schoolyard. Whispers echoed. Students stared, especially the girls, as if Huang were a celebrity. The two looked almost cinematic together, but Haiyan's mind raced. "Why is a detective here for me? Did they find out something about last night? Is he here to question me?" Again, Huang spoke to ease the tension. "Don't worry, I just came to show support. With everything happening lately, I figured you students might be going through some trauma." He smiled gently. "Would you like to join me for lunch? You can ask me anything you want about vampires." Haiyan hesitated, then nodded. "Okay." After a few seconds asked, "So, what do you guys do when you catch a vampire?" Huang leaned in, lowering his voice. "It's a bit of a secret, really. Most people don't know this. Vampires can regenerate. You can't just shoot or stab them and expect them to die." He paused. "Their weakness is their heart, so to kill them, we have to extract it." Haiyan's eyes widened. "But instead," he continued, "we use a more reliable method. We paralyze them with electrified wire, then throw them into a blast furnace that reaches over 3,600 degrees Fahrenheit. That way, they melt completely, not a trace left behind." Haiyan kept a straight face, trying to suppress the dread rising inside her. "Like in the movies." Huang grinned. "Actually, the furnace idea was mine. It's effective, reassuring even." She swallowed hard. "Why do you hate vampires so much? Did something happen?" He looked at her, expression growing serious. "I just want things to go back to normal," he said softly. "So people can walk around at night without fear, so the streets feel like home again." Then, resolutely, he added, "I'm going to catch every last vampire and bring this city back to what it once was." They reached a nearby restaurant and ordered a large amount of food. Huang, especially, ordered a feast just for himself. Seeing all the dishes arrive, he lit up with excitement. Glancing at Haiyan's nearly empty plate, he asked, "Why aren't you eating? I'm starving." Haiyan smiled politely. "Thanks, but I'm not as much of a foodie as you. This is enough for me." "Let's eat now and stop talking," Huang said, already digging in. As Haiyan looked at the food on her plate, her stomach churned. Being a vampire, she couldn't tolerate human food. The smell alone made her feel sick, but she forced herself to stay composed, swallowing down the urge to vomit. Suddenly, in his enthusiasm, Huang accidentally cut his hand with a knife. Blood began to trickle out. The sight and the scent made Haiyan freeze. Her instincts flared. The thirst, the craving. It hit her hard. "Are you okay?" she asked Huang, quickly gulping down her urge, her voice strained. Huang licked the blood casually. "It's a deep cut," he muttered, continuing to suck on his hand. Haiyan, gripping a crown of thorns hidden in her bag, clenched it tightly to control the transformation threatening to surface. Her thoughts spiraled. Is he doing this on purpose? Is he trying to expose me? As the bleeding stopped, Huang glanced at her. "Why aren't you eating? Didn't like the food, or did my blood ruin your appetite?" He teased with a strange smile. "Better eat before it gets cold." Then, with a chuckle, he added, "There's no one in Korea who doesn't love grilled shrimp. Well, except maybe vampires." Haiyan froze again. Huang continued, nonchalantly. "As far as I know, they can only consume blood. If they eat real food like this, their blood stops circulating and they feel unbearable pain. He is testing me. Should I fake a stomachache and leave? No, that would make him even more suspicious. What do I do?" Her hands trembled, but determined to keep her secret safe, she picked up a grilled shrimp and forced herself to eat. cheeks stuffed with food, she said with a fake grin. "This smells so good. I just couldn't resist." Huang stared at her, a bit surprised. To distract him, she pushed her plate slightly toward him. "Want a bite or two? I'm about to finish this. It's so tasty." Moments later, Haiyan was in the bathroom, throwing up everything she'd eaten. Once it was all out, she slumped onto the toilet seat, sighing in relief. "I feel so much better now," she whispered. Then, joining her hands, she prayed quietly. "God, I promise I'll clean the church every day from now on. Just, please help me survive situations like this." When she stepped out of the bathroom, Huang was waiting for her near the cafeteria entrance. He noticed she was holding something. Before he could ask, she quickly said, "These are sticky rice cakes. My younger brother loves them." Trying to end the encounter before anything else happened, she smiled sweetly. "I should get going." Without saying goodbye, she left the cafeteria. As she stepped outside, she exhaled deeply, her smile softening. She felt like she had just escaped a prison. As Haiyan stepped out of the cafeteria, she saw students were still protesting, but the atmosphere had grown darker, more dangerous. On the makeshift stage, the protest leader stood with a knife in his hand, eyes burning with fanaticism. "Let's prove we're not vampires," he shouted, lifting the knife and slicing his wrist. A gasp rippled through the crowd as several of his followers raised their hands, each showing a fresh cut. "If you're human, you'll heal slowly," he declared. "But vampires, they heal instantly." From the crowd, someone called out, "What do we do if we find one?" The leader sneered. "Hand them over to the police. They're not that powerful in daylight anyway." He turned back to the audience. "Take out your blades. Prove you're not one of them. This is the only way to survive." Chaos erupted. Some students hesitantly followed suit, nervously nicking their skin. Others stood frozen, unsure or unwilling. Among them, Haiyan stood silently, her breath shallow. Her mind raced. Stay calm. Find a way out. Don't draw attention. Suddenly, a hand gripped her shoulder. She turned quickly, only to find Huang beside her. Without a word, he took her hand and began pushing through the crowd. She stared at him, stunned, as he led her away. He looked at her for a brief moment and said firmly, "Just keep walking." But before they could escape, a group of masked students blocked their path. They formed a circle around them. One of them stepped forward. "Looks like you're trying to run away from the test." "We're not," Haiyan replied, trying to sound calm. "But it's wrong to force people into this. You can't make us do something against our will." A masked girl snapped, her voice sharp. "How can you say that when you know what's happening in our school? People are disappearing." Before Haiyan could respond, one of them lunged forward and grabbed her arm. Fear surged through her. "If they cut me, they'll find out. I won't bleed like them. I'll be exposed." "Stop!" Huang shouted. He pulled back Haiyan's sleeve, revealing a bandage on her wrist, stained faintly with dried blood. "We already did the test," he said coolly. "Do you need more proof?" He covered her wrist again, giving them a cold, steady glare. Haiyan's heart pounded. She suddenly understood. The bandage was from his own injury at the restaurant. He must have wrapped it around her wrist without her even noticing. They began walking away again, pushing through the tense crowd. Haiyan stared at Huang, confused. Why is he doing this for me? What does he know? Just then, another voice rang out. It was the protest leader himself, stepping into their path. "That could be from anywhere," he said, eyes narrowing. "I didn't see her take the test. I want her to do it again." Haiyan froze. Her worst fear was about to come true. The leader reached out to grab her wrist, but before he could touch her, Huang caught his arm mid-air and squeezed it tightly. "Listen," Huang said, his voice low and threatening. "She's not on an operating table. She did the test. That's enough." He tightened his grip. "And going around with a blade, forcing people to cut themselves, that's a crime." The leader tried to pull free but failed. "I don't know who you are. How can I trust either of you?" Huang smiled coolly and pulled out an ID card from his jacket. "You seem pretty determined," he said, flashing the badge. "Good, so am I. I'm willing to risk my life to catch a vampire." The crowd fell silent. The leader's expression shifted from righteous anger to stunned disbelief. Haiyan stood silently beside Huang, eyes wide. She had no idea what just happened or who Huang really was.